Hey there, welcome to Fumble Forward, where we explore turning life's imperfect moments into growth moments. I'm Akuya, your host. Get ready to laugh, maybe shed a tear, but most importantly, be inspired to live a life with intention. Let's dive in. I missed you. Last week I wasn't here because life was life and I'm going to be honest, I just couldn't push through. I needed a pause, I needed a beat, but I'm so happy to be back because what we're talking about today is so vital to a season of waiting. And it's not only do you have encouragement through it, but how do you worship through it? How do you just completely reframe looking at and experiencing your season of waiting? We're going to get into what that looks like, examples in my real life, examples in the Bible, etc., to really just set you up to make the most out of a season of waiting, which is all season 2 has been about, because there's not a time in life where we don't experience a season of waiting. But before we hop into all of that, I do want to kick off this episode with the winner of the Fumble Forward raffle. Every month, I'm going to try my best to do like a $10 e-gift card raffle to one of you lucky people, a part of the texting group, just randomly selecting someone. And the first winner is Catherine. Now, I'm not always going to have the names, but this time I happen to have the name based on how she had opted in. So congratulations. So you'll be getting your Starbucks e-gift card. So be on the lookout. And that's just one perk of joining the texting club. Another is you get to know about upcoming projects first before episodes drop, aka you get the dibs. And I'm working on something that brings all of the gems we've gained this season and season 1 right into your hands, and in a way that it can be used in your day-to-day life. So don't be the last one to know what's happening. Text JOIN, JOIN, to the number 877-509-1404 to get in the texting club. All right. Now, let me take a deep breath. Situate my chair. I get really amped up when I start these. And so sometimes I have to remind myself, we could take a beat. We could take a pause. So thought that was necessary. But in this season of waiting, as we're talking about it, it can be rough for most of us, right? Because we don't really like a season of waiting, right? That means there's a delay in us getting something that we desire or something that we need. And we live in a world where it's easier than ever to get things right now. When you're impatient in the waiting season, though, things can go really, really wonky, really, really quick. Like, let me tell you, just about 2 weeks ago, the microwave randomly went out in our house. Okay. Which makes making food not so easy, right? And I had planned more of what I was going to eat. And now, not that I planned more of what I was going to eat, but I felt like now I had to do more planning in terms of what do I want to eat? How long is it going to take? And now something that maybe took 4 minutes to make now takes 10 or more. And so totally forgetting that the microwave is not working, I went downstairs to warm up or attempt to warm up my leftover Chinese food. But then I remember the microwave wasn't working. So I'm like, okay, back to the drawing board. So I opened up my fridge, trying to think, okay, what could I eat? And somehow, tell me how, I wandered to the deep fridge and I remember I had ice cream. And I had that instead. Not what I was planning to eat, and definitely not a healthy replacement for a dinner. But instead of doing the work, aka being in the waiting, of getting a frying pan, a cooking pan, cooking up the food on a stove, I went the easy route. That definitely cost me and my body harm, okay? Because Ben and Jerry's for dinner is not, no, not at all. So going the easy way out of a weight is really hardly the answer. And sometimes you got to worship in the weight. Now, before I even go into what I mean by worship in the weight, I'm going to give you an example, real life story of a really, really tough season in my life a few years ago when I got into this organization and I was working there, and I quickly realized my supervisor, nor the organization as a whole, was from moi, like at all. And I wanted to leave desperately. And I was actively looking for a better company and a better job. Now, what was so disappointing about this job on paper just looked like chef's kiss. I was beyond excited to start this job. And anyone who knows me at that time knows I was pumped to start that job, show up as my best self, and be a rock star. Unfortunately, things did not lay out like that. And that wait was about 8 long months. Let me say it again, 8 long months of being in this awful state, in this not great fit of a job or company. And I cried and complained like no one's business while working there. But something I also did, I worshiped. I thank God I had a job. I thank God my job was remote, which was huge at that time because I was traveling to see friends, family. I thank God for the health care that I was receiving from this job because your husband, aka me, was on mine. So me not having health insurance, no bueno for the family unit. I worshiped God for just being bigger, wiser, and stronger than the circumstance I was in. Now, I want to be clear. This was not a cute worshiping in the weight experience. It was actually like being on the bumpiest, pothole-filled road you've ever driven on. And then imagine that by a cliff, like the California cliffs if you drive on the west coast of the U.S. But I did it. If I'm being real, I could have been better, but I'm just glad that I did it. And I think, I know that's the only way I got through that really, really tough season. And what was so beautiful was that I literally got an amazing job afterwards where I learned so much and got paid so much more. So it was just like, thank you for getting me through this season of waiting. And really, I wanted to share that story because it's something that I think you can relate to, your friends or probably family can relate to, of just being in a job where the alignment isn't right and what to do with that, especially right now where so many of us are back to the drawing boards of sorts of how do we want our life to look like after COVID. And so for many of you, that could be a job and what that looks like and get an alignment. And maybe right now you're in your season of waiting and it is rough. And I would just encourage you to worship in the wait, to take your focus off of the things that you don't like and focus on the things that your job is providing you, because it absolutely is providing you something. If nothing else, it's providing you money to pay your bills. And that deserves a hallelujah. Okay, so, just starting as small as humanly possible and focusing on what it's doing for you can really help you get through a season of waiting in a way that doesn't really beat you up and leave you just on the side of the road, right? And so I also want to share with you all some practical tips that I've kind of gathered over the years that I think will be helpful, a starting place of sorts. But one is to write down and speak out gratitude about your situation. Another word of looking at that is affirmations as well. But just even referring to my experience, some of the things that I wrote down and I spoke was just that I have a job. I have health care, like just declaring very factual things that would help me keep grounded and remember that as much as I'm focusing on the negative, there is a positive here, and I need to strengthen that muscle and reframe this situation, because so much of what we're experiencing is perspective. It's so insane. When you're able to change your perspective, it's like you're living in a whole new world. Just truly. I just had an Aladdin moment, like a whole new world. Like I really was just like instantly thought about that song. So funny. Yeah, so that I think is a big one and a staple and a place where you can start that by just speaking it out. Maybe you can't even speak it out, but you can write it. That works too. Another one that I've done that's been profound in terms of helping me through a season of waiting is using workouts as worship. Now, what I mean by that is when you're having that designated time where you're moving your body to incorporate a spiritual and mindful moment with it, that takes it to the next level. Like when I used to do kickboxing, which I cannot wait to get back to because I miss it so much. I used to listen to very upbeat praise and worship Christian music on my drive to kickboxing. And it really just set the tone as like prep workout of where I want it to be headspace wise. And then also using breaks in between my workouts to just do what I had talked about earlier, which is speaking gratitude. I'd just be grateful that I can move my body. Wow, I have the strength to do these push-ups. Wow, I have the endurance to do this workout for, 15-minute increments. Whatever it was so impactful for me being grounded, being very present in what I was doing, which was huge. And then 3, I would say, is listen or sing to praise and worship music. So these all kind of build up on each other, but you can also do them all separately. But that's also really powerful too when you're going through a rough patch like I was with this job. Sometimes you cannot even find the words. You want to be grateful, you want to work out, but honestly, you just can't. And you just want to sit on your couch or lay on your patio or just be wherever you are and just let the music flow through your home or your office or your car or wherever you're going can really, really make a profound difference. It truly can. So those are the 3 that I really use in that season of waiting and just transitioning that made the difference for me. I feel like I would have left that waiting season with way more battle wounds than I did if I hadn't done these. And so that's one example for my own life and some practical steps, but also I really wanted to highlight with you the story of Hannah from the Bible. Now, Hannah had infertility issues. She desperately wanted a child. She wanted that whole experience to love up on a little kid, raise them, etc. But it was not happening for her. And she was actually even made fun of for not being able to have a child because especially back in those days, it was a big deal. And she would pray to the Lord. Pray through bitter, mad, and angry emotions. So much at one point that the man's name has escaped me, who he was, but she was in the church and she was praising to the Lord, but she looked so, if you could just imagine, he describes her as looking drunk. Like she kind of looked belligerent. You know what I'm saying? Like she did not look of right mind so much that this man was concerned. But when he realized that she was just praying to the Lord through all these emotions, he was like, oh, go continue. But that's just another example. And I think about Hannah all the time. We're like, her worshiping in the wait was not pretty. It was not Instagrammable. She was not worried about what people were thinking about, right? She was pushing through and in some ways using all her emotions to praise God for what she desired, what she hoped for, and just to get through her circumstances. And her faith persisted, and she was able to birth her son, Samuel, which is just such a beautiful testament of how, yes, painful it is to worship in the wait and the beauty that can come on the other side of that. And so I hope these stories really just inspire you and really get you to take action. If you're in a season of waiting, to not lose that worshiping side. I know that you may feel just like, is it ever going to happen? You may feel like, wow, what is going on here? But worship in the wait. Because the beautiful thing is, even if you don't necessarily get what you were envisioning and hoping for, just think about at least you got out of that situation better than you probably would have had you not worshiped in the wait. And so this is really about using a lot of the tools that we've talked about this season in a practical and aggressive way. And really a key component that helped me get through this, and I think was so beautifully described for Hannah in the Bible, is that worshiping in the wait does not have to look pretty. Do not worry about, am I saying the right things? Is my emotions getting in the way? None of that. Like, just being able to focus on the worshiping part despite what you may be feeling or experiencing is so huge, because you're usually, in my experience, able to get to the other side of that and get new understanding, new perspective, and just a new way of navigating. And I know that it doesn't come as first thought to worship in the way, and it's so difficult, and the list goes on. But man, oh man, if we can just incorporate this in daily life, really can move mountains. I firmly believe that. I know it did for me in that situation with that awful job. And so that's what I wanted to talk about with you, worshiping in the wait. And really, as we've been talking about waiting all season long, this realization made me want to get something tangible to you that you can put in your hands every day to help you navigate life as people that are not blowing in the wind and just moved by every situation and circumstance that we have happen in life. And I want you to get this in your hands when it drops. But those in the texting club will learn about this project first. So you already know what you got to do. But let's dive in. What am I looking forward to? I am looking forward to a few things, actually. I'm looking forward to enjoying the outdoors. Right now, it is this beautiful, beautiful weather right now in Florida where it's sunny out, blue skies, but it's cool. Like, there's still a breeze and it's windy. And so it's really enjoyable to be outside actually for extended period of time versus in just a few weeks, it's going to be really, really hard, maybe unbearable some days. Sweat is going to be happening profusely within being outside for a few minutes because of the humidity. So I'm just soaking this in and finding any excuse to go to like a park or an outdoor space or the beach, etc. I'm also looking forward to recording and wrapping up the last episode of season 2, which will be dropping next week. And I got really fun news to share with you all. And this one is going to be so fun to share with you all. And I am like bittersweet mood right now, just wrapping up season 2, but it's that time. reflect, update, do all the things that we do. Because you already know from season 1 to season 2 was just like, woo, big, 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 big changes in the best way. And then I felt like I had a third, but I forgot. So I'll just go with those two. And then what have I been reading? So I finished up Numbers in the Bible, which was one of those things that definitely got more juicy towards the end for sure. And now I'm at Deuteronomy. I still feel like that one doesn't really flow off the tongue. So now it's at the point where Moses is really starting to do transition things for the new generation of God's people, because all the old ones passed and went away, and he has to get things situated before they enter the promised land. So it's going pretty well right now. I'm getting a good flow, and I feel like I'm starting to read more chapters in the day than I was before. So that is exciting. And then also, if you have a friend who hasn't thought about worshiping in the wait, who's been really concerned about what other people are thinking, how things look like, their emotions getting in the way, they need something else to focus on while they're waiting, share this episode with them. Let this be the encourager, the insight that they need to maybe approach this time in their life a little differently. As always, make sure to subscribe to this podcast, especially with the exciting things that I'm working on. You're going to want to be a part of it. And like always, thank you so much for listening to this episode and really riding with me through this season. And details of the texting group, what's coming up next, will all be in the show notes. And like always, until next time. Look at you. You stayed with me to the end. You're the best. Good thing is, it doesn't have to stop here. Dive into another episode and continue the ride.